Hardcore Metal Detecting Radio Show. I'm Derek Asklar. Craig Talley's on the line there. We'll be hosting his show tonight. Did a few more things as far as a microphone goes. And, I just decided, you know what? Enough is enough, Craig. I want to keep this so it's mobile. And, as far as the show goes, so that I can, like when we go to hunts or if I'm, wherever. And if to get too much equipment going, soundboards and that kind of thing, you know what? I think this works pretty good. It's packable. I could take it with me, whatever, go to a CU or whatever, and we could just do a show spontaneously. And I think that's the one advantage that I have over, like Loy. I mean, Loy has a really great system and everything. It sounds really good. But I think we're getting there. And I think, if I get a new microphone and stuff like that, everything will work out good as far as that goes. But we're kind of narrowing it down a little by little. But I just wanted to say that. I'm kind of okay with what we got. I don't think we need anything more. If it's working, if it ain't broke, don't fix it till it is, right? So.
Well, I remember Dave McMahon and those guys were, tweaking their equipment, and man, it sounded great, but I mean, they'd spent thousands of dollars on stuff.
Yeah. And we're just regular guys. This show has always been a bit unscripted, format-wise. We kind of go wherever the show leads us. I don't want to give up that part of it because I think it makes it interesting. It's fun. And, Craig and I don't even know half the time what where the show's going to go. I mean, unless we have a guest on or something like that. It's primarily all about metal detecting and treasure hunting and stuff. But, it gets into a lot of the stuff that affects our hobby. Whether it be YouTube and Facebook and, whether it's a company that's selling detectors, whatever, we kind of go with that as just, regular guys talking to, regular people out there that just love the hobby. And as we get information, we may change our stance on some things when we have more information about it. But primarily, whatever we read or hear, whatever we pass it on. If you guys want to get involved in the conversations and stuff like that, you can feel free to call at any time at 352-504-4170, or you can get on Skype and Skype us at derek.asklar1. I'll put it up on chat here in a minute. And you can get us through Skype on your computer too. But, Craig, I wanted to start off talking about a guy named, Brandon the Archiver. Craig put a video up on Hardcore Metal Detecting Facebook page about him. This guy, he's done a lot of stuff. He started up a new channel, essentially, or not a newer channel, and he's trying to get more subscribers and stuff. And Craig, I'll let you kind of take it from there. But that's what this show's about, is helping people out. Anyways, if we can spot you, if you're starting up a new Facebook page or YouTube channel, or you're doing something, you have a hunt going on, all you have to do is email us, or, get on the show, and heck, we'll let you talk. You're not going to worry about that, but it gets the information out to the people that you want them to, that you're targeting, as far as metal detecting or what have you. So I just think it's a good idea for us to, Craig has more of a chance to, kind of see this stuff or hear this stuff, see these videos than I do. And I usually, if Craig posted up, I'll go right over to it just to check it out. And, we did this for that one younger guy too. He was just kind of starting out and everything. And it's tough. I mean, these social media stuff there's a lot of stuff you got to go through to get on there, to be able to monetize, to be able to do this or that. But even hitting your target audience is getting more and more difficult. I had never even heard of this guy. And, I watched his video, and it was pretty, he's just kind of telling you about himself and what he does. And, Craig, I'll let you take it from there, because you actually talked to this gentleman, or texted him or whatever.
Well, I saw him, probably, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago. I don't know. And he was starting at this YouTube channel, and I think he talked about, he's a archivist and he's a historian, and what he does is he searches all these different databases about shipwrecks and stuff, and where to find the gold and stuff. And he's actually, met Mel Fisher years ago, and knows all the major guys. I mean, I asked him, if he'd heard of, what was it, Carl? Shoot, I can't remember the guy's last name.
You made me forget.
But anyway, Carl was like one of the reals I found. He said, "Oh, that's in good shape." He goes, "I found 11,000 of those on one ship," and he sold every one but 5 or so. Carl Pismer.
Yeah.
They call him Captain Fizz. But anyway, he knew. I named a couple names, and I knew all. He goes, I've talked to all those guys. He lives down in St. Louis, Florida, or something like that. I can't remember.
Something like that.
And he was. But anyway, he.
Carl Fismer.
From watching his channel, he's very frustrated. He was trying to get monetized, and then he got on the purge. Like I lost, I think it was 9 or 11 or 12 subscribers when they purged all the channels that one day. And you wake up, and he lost 100 in one day, and he was like, getting close to 1,000 at the time, and all of a sudden he's back to another 100. And so he's done all this research trying to get his channel up, everything he can. And so I mentioned about this library. There's this new thing going on.
It's going to be like whatever format.
Yeah, it's but it's all based on cryptocurrency and blockchain, and it can't be censored. And that's what's happened with YouTube. It's gotten to, there's no rules. They make them up on the go. I don't know, they got bots deciding whether they everybody's complaining. And this has been going on for 2 years. It started up real big about 2 years ago. And then all of a sudden it's hit a point where people are, they're devastated. Some of these guys were making a living, and now they're not making a thing.
Yeah, they're just trying to have fun doing it. Have fun making a hobby or whatever they're doing, and they've just made it impossible. Seems like.
But I started researching alternatives to YouTube, and first I was watching this thing on people were about being demonetized, and some of these people were 10 million. Had 10 million subscribers, and they were like Casey Neistat was one of the top guys in YouTube. They push this guy because he does a really good channel, and he's real innovative, and he's been doing it for years. He does commercials, major commercials for, like he did one for Nike years ago, and that's how he kind of got started. And but
right.
He actually got the number 2 guy from YouTube in his studio to do an interview, and the guy said he'd be truthful, and the guy was a snake. He never, I couldn't believe it. I said, the guy's just, he's not telling the truth at all. He just, is evading every question, and
right.
At the end, after the guy leaves, Casey just blasts the guy on the thing, and he puts it out saying, he goes, I didn't get anything out of this guy. This is unbelievable. Mm-hmm. We didn't learn anything. He said he was going to be open. He wasn't at all,
Right.
But anyway, that was like about 2 years ago. So now it's even worse. It's they've gotten so big that like they put Jimmy Kimmel and all these other, late night celebrity talk show guys. They all have their own channels, and they don't have. Some of them don't even have. They might have 300,000 or 500,000, but they don't have millions of subscribers, and they get more views and they get more money off of it because they push them.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do this. I mean, for anybody. I mean, Craig's been trying for. God, it took him 2 years, 3 years to get 1,000 subscribers. And our hobbies, it's a big hobby. But
well,
a lot of people don't, surf through that. So
Well, I've been on there since 2011, actually,
Right.
but
Well, yeah.
And Brandon was kind of surprised that when I told him that, I was actually monetized at one time. And he goes, "How did you do that?" And I said, "All you had to have was 10,000 views."
Right.
That was the cutoff back then. I said I started in 2011, but I didn't really start doing videos until about 2012, probably.
Right.
Toward the end. And then, I started, I did some on tennis, and then I started doing metal detecting videos, and I just, all of a sudden I started getting more views, and, I was like thrilled when I got 100 subscribers, but it took probably 2 years just to get 100 subscribers. And it was hard to find, very many YouTube videos back then. There wasn't that many people doing it like there is now, and they didn't have that many videos out. But, it exploded, a few years later. It just, and in the last 2 years, it's just unbelievable,
Right.
how many people are putting out videos on it. But, it's like, I know, like guys from Stealth Diggers, they got all kinds of merchandise deals they're doing, and he reviews products, and he's got Patreon and stuff like that, and it's a business, for him.
Right.
But but it's tough. You almost have to go outside of YouTube to get the monetization.
Right.
So this new thing with well, anyway, when I commented to Brandon, he wanted to know more about this, and we kept texting back and forth. So finally, he sent me his number, and I called him, and we sat there and talked for about an hour and a half or so. And he wanted to know about this library, and so in the middle of watching these videos, I saw this guy talking about, his guy was almost crying because their foundation had lost all it was a nonprofit foundation,
Right.
and all of a sudden,
They lost their
YouTube,
funding.
and a couple of them they just lost their whole channel over one video, and they tried to get an answer, and the guy even showed a video. I saw, what they thought was bad, and it didn't look bad to me. I mean, it just, I don't know. It's
becoming very political, because I've had a few guys that have posted up metal detecting videos. Nothing bad, no cursing, no, what I mean? And all of a sudden, boom, they just wouldn't let them post them up. Some of the
people, by studying what's going on, by really getting into it, said corporations are, they're trying to take over this thing.
Right.
YouTube, and I've always said YouTube is going to become, something that you're going to have to pay for probably in the future. I mean, they keep bombarding me with, well, I get this pop-up on my iPad that says, try free for a month, or it used to be, I think, 3 months, but try YouTube Premium, and it's like about, I don't know, is it $20 a month or $10 a month? I don't know what it is.
That.
But,
it's getting to the point now, and I warned people, if you have YouTube videos up on there and you want to keep them and you don't have a copy of them on your computer, you need to download them onto your computer and put them onto a hard drive or something, because if YouTube ever decides, they've already proved it more than once, that when they decide to do something, it's done. And Craig was talking about this a couple of months ago, where they did this switch where you had to have so many subscribers and everything else, but Craig had already earned $50 some odd on his monetization, but you couldn't cash out until you had over 100. Where did that $50 some go? And if they did it to everybody that was monetizing, where did that money go? So they've already proved that they'll just do it. And I'm not beating them up or nothing. I'm just saying, this is the way they do stuff. And
I've never,
you could lose all your content.
Well, I talked to Brandon about that, because he asked me, I said I was actually monetized, years ago, and then I said, a few years ago they made, well, they finally came out with this thing where, you had 1,000 subscribers and the minutes, 1,000.
I just don't want to see anybody lose their stuff. Not that they would do it. I'm just saying, it's always, CYOA, cover your own, what. If you want your content, and this happened to us with 1,000 mics or whatever, when we were on that platform, they went belly up, sold out, whatever. Well, I never even thought twice about it, but we lost a lot of our show content because I didn't realize that they went out of business type thing. Not that we had so much problems with audio and stuff through that whole time.
Oh, man.
It was aggravating to lose it because, I had a lot of guests on there that I wanted to keep just for personal reasons because, I think, I don't know how many we had on there, but I mean, we'd been doing it for a couple of years on 1,000 mics, and and I'm sure that, Josh Kimmel, I don't know if he downloaded his stuff or not off there. I don't know if he lost it all. Maybe he did. I wasn't keeping it on my computer. Every time I do a show on Spreaker, it automatically downloads to my computer. And then when I get done with the show, I move it over into a file, and then every so often I move them onto a hard drive. So if Spreaker ever decided to, done, I have a copy of them just for posterity, I guess, because it's like, what we do, what we've done, who we've talked to, topics we've done, it's kind of like a little historical thing for us to keep track of it. But, when all these changes are coming on so fast, you just don't know what these big companies are going to do. It's not, and, I realize that most of us are just making metal detecting videos or whatever kind of video it is. It really doesn't matter. It's your video. You took the time to make it, edit it, shoot it, the whole 9 yards, and it means something to you. And you have subscribers that are coming in and subscribing to your channels, being supportive and everything else, and for a company to just change the game and not grandfather people in certain circumstances anyways. And that's what kind of got me about the whole monetization thing. Craig, you were in. You were doing it. You'd been doing it. You made a little bit of money, whatever. It wasn't even about the money, but to have them cut people off, that were already monetizing. That
that you had to make in order to, what it did was it was hooked up to your bank account, I guess, and
right.
You just once you reached what was called a $100 threshold, you got $100
right
deposit in your bank, but you didn't get any money until you got that $100.
Right.
So I went through 2 stretches and I got $200, and it took me a couple years actually, to get $200. But
right.
I think one of the videos I think was when I found that Cobb, I got a lot of views and a lot, and people watched. After that, I got a lot more views, and I got, people were looking longer on the video.
Mm-hmm.
If they only watch like a minute, it doesn't matter if you get thousands of views, and they only watch, a couple seconds or a minute, But if you get them to watch longer, that's, the longer they stay on there, then better it is. But, it's, I don't know, it's, anyway, after I got the second 200, then I got up to about $52 or $54. I can't remember.
Right.
But and then they just demonetized, and so I was thinking, oh well, they'll give me this $52, So I didn't hear anything, and I wasn't hearing anything on the internet, and then so I started, kind of Googling it a little bit, and then it came up with this $100 threshold. So I said, oh no, that's what they're doing. They're going to, they're going to keep that money because they're going to say, oh, you didn't reach the $100 threshold. So, it's a loophole or whatever. So then I started realizing, man, there's millions of channels out there. There's at least 500,000 channels. I don't know. There's probably more than that. There's got to be. There's probably several million or 10 million channels. I mean, even tiny channels. Everything. They're all over the world. I mean, India is one of the biggest growing YouTube channel. they do it. They're on Instagram. The whole world is now practically. Right. It's huge. But I was thinking, how many of those channels? Even if they have $10 and you got 1 million channels, that's $10 million. If you stole $54 like out of my account, you'd have $50 million or more.
Well, exactly, yeah. And the thing was that it wasn't. If you were established already, it makes sense. It's good to me. It's good business. If you were established, all these other people were established, had been doing the monetization or whatever. Granted, you're not making a ton of money or anything. It's not even about the money. It's just the fact that they, boom, changed it, and it didn't matter. You didn't matter. Nobody else mattered unless you had all these people on it. Well, what they should have done is, okay, from now on, you cannot monetize until you have established number of people or subscribers or what have you. But the people that are already monetized, you have a get out of jail free card or whatever. You're grandfathered in. That would have been the proper way to do it. But they don't think like this. It's kind of like Patreon. Some of the guys were doing Patreon and stuff, and that's become back when I was going to do it, and I didn't, but they had changed the rules around on that, and which
well,
they're going to do
banning
this stuff,
people, and
right? To have your own channel or own Facebook page or own whatever, and you want to get the word out, it's about the only means you have to do it. I mean, a lot of these guys even on chat, Mark Hoover has his own Facebook page, Bill Marsh and Barb, and all y'all have your own Facebook pages and YouTube channels, I'm sure, and you need, you want other people to know that, because if they like your content, they watch your videos, or they, if they get on your radio show or what have you. It's just a good outlet. It keeps like-minded people in contact with each other. And, I was telling Craig, I said, it's a lot of, if you guys or anybody listening out there, if you have a product or you have a Facebook page, whatever, and you want us to mention it on the show, and I'm sure several of the other shows will probably more than likely do this too for you. All you have to do is, email us or something. I mean, right now, I put my email address on chat right here. And just, hey, Derek, I got, whatever, this is my Facebook page, this is my YouTube channel, I'm trying to do this, and this. Can you put me a spot on the show or whatever? Just kind of mention your name, whatever. And me and Craig are all about that. I mean, it's the only way, that's how we met each other. I mean, we become, damn good friends. And it was through YouTube, it was through Facebook, it was through, liking the hobby of metal detecting. And, I want to see those kind of friendships prosper, and they have. I mean, there's a lot of y'all out there probably would have never even talked to this other person you talk to all the time if you hadn't met or seen a video or whatever, and you were able to, chat or whatever, and become friends.
It was kind of like the podcasting, I'd been on a couple of, I did a few early ones with Dave McMahon on the Detecting Lifestyle, and then right. I think after that, we got into it, I don't know, a couple of years later, I think, maybe. Yeah, or maybe a year or so later.
Yeah. Josh Kimmel had been in it.
But we were kind of talking about, advertising was so expensive and everything, and, it wasn't very effective. You wasn't getting much bang for the buck either on this, on the advertising, They wanted banners and stuff on, these forums, and, I just didn't think it was, cost effective, it's kind of a waste of money. But we thought the podcasting, that was more interesting, and, we could, use that for more, get our word out at least.
Yeah, because you were kind of left.
And it worked pretty good, but
yeah.
But I remember when we first started, it was kind of, kind of so nerve wracking, Yeah. Especially for you. I'm a natural talker, it doesn't scare me. I can talk in front of a crowd, and I don't even know anybody there, and it doesn't, people have always remarked, man, aren't you nervous? You don't get nervous? I go, no. As long as I know what I'm talking about. But,
yeah. Well, I mean,
if I didn't know what I was talking about, then I get nervous. But
because of all of our listeners, the guys that, and gals we would have, the show is gone. And Mark Hoover just said it on here. Bill Marsh, I think you're the one that invited me to hardcore metal detecting. I mean, it's word of mouth. I mean, well, it's through the computer, but it's word of mouth. I mean, I don't see, like this guy that, Brandon, the archiver, I didn't know this guy, but I watched his video and I like the guy. The guy seems generally honest. It's pretty much like a little biography about himself or whatever. It's like 10 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, some interesting stuff in there. Some of the stuff he's done is really interesting. Why not pass it on to you guys? And if it's something you guys want to, check out or follow him or subscribe, great. I mean, but, how are we going to know this, or know about, others if we don't tell each other, so that's what we look at as far as Facebook. That's what I look at, is being able to connect with all like-minded people in hobbies that I enjoy, outdoor activities, whatever, or maybe you like music, maybe you like, whatever, maybe you like needlepoint. I'm sure there's a Facebook page for needlepoint, but it's you made a lot of friends. I mean, Mark Hoover, good friend of mine. We hunt together and stuff like that every once in a while. He has a busy schedule. I do too. Bill Marsh, we've hunted with him. Gavin, we've talked to him on the phone. Barbara, Brandon Stewart, all these guys that are on here, every so often. Well, I have Bill's always on here, but and so is Mark. But at any rate, we wouldn't have even met these guys. We probably would have never been able to hunt together, whatever. And those are moments in this hobby that I have thoroughly enjoyed, and I know Craig has too. Being able to, to hang out, like up at Horsham in Pennsylvania when we did digging in Pennsylvania, or up there for that. Man, we met so many people that, my God, I didn't, I can't remember names so well, but faces I do, and it's like, man, I recognize you. We met Maddie. Remember Maddie, Craig? That's where we met him, up there, little Maddie there, and he was, or that was the CWPPO. We met him. That was another one that. Sam Waters put on and everything, and Bill Marsh is involved in it. It's a whole deal up there, looking for Morgan Raiders Trail. But we met a lot of people up there, and it's we probably never would have. But I mean, we're talking young people, old people, men, women. It doesn't matter. We're all like-minded, and I wanted to help support more of that. Instead of having it turn into a money thing. I mean, I don't begrudge anybody making money. God bless you. I want you all to make money. But, it's not just about that. It's about camaraderie. It's about, a good hobby, a good friends. Hey. So I'll kind of quit beating the dead horse there. But, Craig, you can tell I get passionate about it. We always have. But it's so hard to do this kind of stuff in the kind of, I don't know, I guess you would call it a business world. The business end of metal detecting, because it does, involve money. So I'm going to call it business. It gets kind of tough. It's like a pool full of sharks, and you're a little tadpole. So yeah. So that's how we got into it. And you grew into it pretty good, but you were a little nervous at first. But oh yeah.
One of the worst fears people have is talking in public, even if you can't see the public.
Right.
I never had that fear. When I was in elementary school, I got yelled at all the time for talking too much.
Well, with me too. I mean, it's a lot of. It's like therapy for me, anyways. Between PTSD and anxiety and stuff like that. This kind of helps me through that too. Yeah, I have my nervous moments, and I have my tongue-tied moments, and forget stuff, everything else, but this kind of like is therapy for me anyways, and I get to talk to my friends. What the heck, you can't go wrong with that. It's fun. But you put me in front of a room full of people, and it's different for me, boy. It's kicking in overdrive, that PTSD and stuff, but I still get through it. It's just not as graceful as I'd like it to be. But Craig can go right up there and shoot in front of 1,000 people and talk. So that's where Craig shines. He does, that doesn't bother him.
Yeah, I was at this one thing, and I think I was in. I took a master's course when I was at DW University years ago, and I had to there was a lot of oral reports you had to do, basically get up and teach the class, and so I was the only undergraduate in the class at the time, and I just took the class. It was called Sociology of Education, and so I had to do one of the first talks. I think I had talked for like, I don't know, hour and a half. I think straight. And
I slit my wrist with a plastic spork.
So I'd spent a week, researching the topic and all that, and I even had jokes in the middle of my talk, where I kind of put jokes in there, and I had everybody laughing and stuff. But anyway, at the end, after I finished, all these people came up to me, were saying, "Oh my God, that was unbelievable. I'm so nervous when I get up there, and and you're not even a graduate student yet, and I said, I don't know, I don't have any problem. I said, I don't even know any of you guys. So what do I think? What I care.
Yeah. I mean, I could run into a burning building to help somebody or whatever, do whatever, something like that. But you put me in front, and it's totally different. I don't know what it is. I mean, I do it, I'm president of the VFW Auxiliary, and just getting up there, I'm amongst my friends. These are people that I talk to all the time and everything else, and I still, it's a therapy thing for me to get through that, because you fight or flight, I'm going to fight. I'm going to get through my whatever issue I'm having head on. I'm not going to sit there and hide behind a, table or something like that. I'm going to get through it. It's just the way I am. But yeah, I mean, put me in a firefight, I'm good. Put me in front of a group of people, I'll fall over. But yeah, this hobby, it brings out the best in a lot of people. I've seen these guys work really hard, guys and gals. I always say guys, but I mean everybody. But they work real hard. They take a lot of pride in what they do, what they're finding, where they're going, what the videos they're putting up, the stuff they put on their Facebook pages, and yeah, a lot of it's fun stuff too. I mean, I laughed my butt off all morning reading some of these little GIFs. What do they call them, Greg? The sayings and stuff. Well, you had some of them up on Facebook. Memes, whatever. I roll, but it's all stuff that people took their time to do it.
I put 3 pretty good ones up today.
Yeah, I like those. I like the father and the son. The son goes, "Hey, Dad, how do I make $1 million at metal detecting? Start with $1 billion." So, something like that.
No, he says, "How do I can I become a millionaire metal detecting?" And it shows like an Equinox and a Go Find side by side in the picture, And then it says, the father says, "Only if you're a billionaire." So you're losing money, to become a millionaire from a billionaire. But there was another one. I got I think 27,000 looks or 47,000 looks and thousands on Instagram, and it was that one that Mark Hoover took, the picture of a field, and somebody put when they showed their finds on Facebook.
It goes by. Yeah, I laugh about that because we can't help it, man. As hunters or relic hunters, whatever, somebody finds something, it just makes everybody's adrenaline kick up, and they go right over there and go to it.
But that was getting shared. That thing must have been shared like 100 times. Even a couple weeks later, it was still being shared. It was. That one, I don't know. It was just there's been a couple that were like that, they were just hilarious, and that's what I look for on Facebook and Instagram and some of the other platforms. But
right.
I put them up on on our page, and then I put them up on my Instagram page. But it's I'm always looking for that, or something new about metal detecting. I don't know if you saw those shafts that are they got these new shafts coming out for the Equinox, and they're all carbon fiber, and there's about 4 or 5 different types.
Right.
But there's this new one I can't remember the company. I have it up on the it's on the hardcore page. I think I put the video up on that, but I think it's $159, but it's actually telescopic, and you can squeeze the whole length of the machine down to 21 inches.
Yeah, I see. Now, Craig, on that same note, with the Quest Pro or whatever, they close up to I want to say it was 22 inches, but there's a company that makes those shafts, those rectangular shafts, and I'll have to get the and it's going to be the same kind of thing. So I don't know what the price range is on those Equinox ones, or whether you can even match them up or whatever.
Well, these are all both poles. It looks like I was on I might have put up a video from the company maybe a few or 3 or 4 days ago up on the hardcore page, but the guy went through showing it, and it takes almost 4 ounces off the machine.
Yeah.
I think a little bit over 4 ounces.
And it doesn't sound like a lot, guys, for the people that do it, but 4 ounces is 4 ounces.
Some people said it kind of makes the machine more heavy toward the coil, but
right.
I don't think that's as big a deal. I mean, the Deus is coil heavy, but it's so light it doesn't matter,
Well, it's like the AT Pro. I mean, with the regular standard coil, it's 1.5 pounds towards the coil side, and when you're dealing with over, it will wear on your wrist. And I did a video about that, is weighted out, whatever. I mean, it's something for you all to know. I mean, the machine itself only weighs 3.5 pounds, so it's it's one of those things where it's the ergonomic of a metal detector. We talk about that a lot on here also, about how detectors are balanced, because you think about it, you're out there, if you're going to swing for an hour, no big deal, but if you're out there 6, 7, 8 hours, I mean, your arm's going to fall off with some of these detectors.
Nobody wants a heavy machine anymore after you feel a Deus or now the Knox, man.
We know guys that had shoulder surgery using the detector because it threw the rotary cup out. I mean, after swinging it, because if you're swinging right and you're swinging properly, whatever, keeping an eye on how high the coil is off the ground and keeping it level and everything. You're being precise, and it's not like you're just whimsically swinging it around. You're not going to find anything. So that repetitive motion. Some of these detectors will hurt you. I mean, I'm not beating up the detector. I'm just saying, like ATX, good machine, but it is a rather heavy machine. I think it's 7 pounds, 8 pounds, Craig, and you swing that for 5 hours, you're going to feel it. I mean, CTX, a little heavy too. Anything, and really even the Blisstal, I mean, it's not even 4 pounds, but if I swing that thing for 5 or 6 hours, I'm feeling it. The Quest is about on the same wave as the Equinox as far as weight goes. I notice a big difference on that. It's effort, like the Deus, kind of effortless. That just makes you more relaxed.
If you compare the Equinox to the E-Track, look how big the box is, on the E-Track. That is a heavy machine.
Right.
And it's not balanced at all. I hadn't tried one in years. My friend got one because he had a SE Pro and it broke. So
right.
He was wondering what to switch to, and I said, why don't you get an E-Track? He said something about CTX, and I said, metal detect that a few times a year, and
right.
That's not going to work because this thing is like a bear. It's like you got to program it and stuff,
right.
Big time. It takes a while. And, but I said, you already got the E-Track. So, if you got the E-Track, it's pretty much going to be set up like the SE Pro, and you won't have any learning curve, and
exactly.
It turned out it was true,
Mm-hmm. Well, we got a caller, Craig.
I was like,
we got Mark Hoover on the line, I believe. Mark, you there?
I'm here. Hey, Craig. Hey, Derek.
How you doing, brother?
What's up, man?
I'm doing well. I'm sorry I hadn't been on as much. I missed talking to you guys. I heard y'all talking. I heard my name.
Oh,
Figured I'd call in and say hi.
Got on embarrassed, huh?
Yeah. We weren't talking bad about you, Mark, I promise.
No. He was just talking about that one photo I posted from the Garrett hunt.
Uh-huh.
And then,
Yeah.
I didn't even know it. And then somebody sent it to me and said, look at this meme. And I'm like, wait a minute.
I thought it was a really good one.
I took that picture.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a selfie.
And then you put it on back on the. You mentioned about it, and then Dave Edinger put your picture on it. Remember that?
I know. Yeah, he put my picture.
And then I reposted it and got much more views off of it.
I'll tell you, Mark. For those of you that don't know Mark, photography, and Mark, I'm gonna throw you. Somehow you may not believe it, but you have a lot of talent when it comes to photography. I mean, some of Mark's stuff went into magazines and stuff from the CWPPO hunt and stuff like that. You take very good pictures. I mean, it takes time. It's just like anything else. I mean, I can't take a photograph really other than a find and make it look as interesting as the photos you take. Just normally, just clicking away. So I mean, I just wanted to throw that at you pretty much. I mean, the photography part of it, you're really good at.
Well, I appreciate that. It's funny. I posted some pictures when I worked in the Pigeon Forge, Gatlinburg area many, many decades ago. And I was working in that area, and there was another guy that I worked with, and he actually lives in Florida now too, and taught me a lot about photography, about lighting, about apertures, f-stops, all of the things that people don't know today, and, how to look through the lens and, see things that maybe the average person doesn't see. So I learned a lot back then, and then later on, maybe a year or two later, I was working up in the Chicago area. Actually took a train into Chicago with another guy, and we were delighted. We're going to buy our first real cameras, and so we went in and negotiated a deal because two of us were buying them together. But anyway, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the process, of taking photographs and learning how to, trying to take interesting photographs. And
Right.
Anyway, so I think that's where a lot of that came from back then. I mean, and then really never got into it professionally, selling pictures or anything, but I always have enjoyed it and have always tried to find interesting ways to tell a story.
Uh-huh.
And photography is a great way to do that. I've never gotten really into the videos. I did when when Patrick was in music, got into some videos and sharing those on YouTube, but never really for myself.
Right. And photographs, I think, for me, photographs are a lot harder to tell the story in one picture. One photograph of a scene or whatever you're taking a photo of. It's really, you have a talent for that. I don't have that talent. Now, video, you can, as you shoot video, you're learning anyways what you like, what you don't like, how it comes out. And, I've done some videos where I've had to do them on my own. I didn't have anybody there to film or whatever, do an instructional video or what have you. And then I noticed a big difference when I had my wife shooting me doing a video for whatever, for a review video, how well it turned out, because her perspective with the camera, how she holds it, the angles she takes is so much better than what I do. It's just a talent that certain people, I think, just have. Not that they're bad videos. Everybody does videos, but you could tell people with talent, because the video itself, it just not mesmerizes you. You know what I'm saying, Mark, right? It takes your attention. It really, what they're doing with the camera.
Sure.
So.
Sure. And, what's interesting too is, when we had film, you couldn't shoot hundreds of pictures because that's going to cost you a lot of money, right? Now with digital, you can take, hundreds of photos and, of a scene and then pick the best one. So It's a lot less expensive now to take to take photos and get a good picture out of them.
Is as good a camera as anything on the market almost. You know, you don't even have to. I do everything on my iPhone. You know,
I was wondering, Craig, do you just use your iPhone, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You didn't know if you had a regular.
It's getting to the point where, all this stuff, the iPhone and the iPad are starting to, blend in with the Mac now, and the new operating systems and stuff, but the camera technology, the competition between Samsung and the Chinese companies and Apple, the cameras just keep getting better every year. And, it's incredible how good. I looked at some of the videos I did with the 4S. That was the first one I had. And when I started doing it with that, man, I was like, wow, these are really good, And I think it was in 720 was the highest you could go then.
Right.
But, I could go as high as 4K on my phone. I don't do it, but I usually go 720 or 1080.
Right.
It looks good enough. I mean, it's got all these new apps and stuff that you can use. So I edit everything on my iPhone and through iMovie, and then upload through YouTube Studio. But it's so easy to do, and when I'm out in the field, I don't like having a big camera around my neck. Or having to carry it in a backpack or a case or something, because most of those cameras are pretty expensive.
Oh, yeah.
So you got to be careful.
Just the camcorders, too. I mean, even a GoPro is, the one I got was, I think, $300 or $400. I mean, that's a lot to me anyways. But, even microphones and stuff like that for the shows, to get quality, at least mid-range quality, you're looking at $300, $400 anyways, or up to, the price goes up and up. And camcorders, cameras, all that stuff costs. So making it work with a camera that's not maybe, like a mid-level camera, making it look like a professional shot, that takes a lot of talent. That's where Mark gets. I don't know what kind of camera you use, Mark, but it turns out pretty good. I've taken a few good shots, selfies, like kind of what you did. And, like the when I had the mask on and stuff, and it was just a funny shot about Craig's place. We were in a Nighthawk property or something, but I like those shots. They came out really good, but I don't know what the heck I'm doing as far as all the little adjustments and stuff. That's my job. My wife is next to me now. That's my job. She has a talent for doing stuff like that, to camera angles and stuff, and I wish I had that talent, but I guess you learn it.
Well, I think Craig is right. Yeah, I'm sorry, Craig. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead. I'm fine.
Yeah, I was just going to say I'm in agreement with you. I mean, I don't think any of us really want to carry a full camera around while we're memory taking. Now, I do have a nice camera, and Bill was joking about it in chat. It actually has a 50x lens on it, which gets some incredible pictures from distance, which you're not going to get from the average iPhone. But, I would say 80% of the time, most of my photos are with an iPhone. Like that one that you were referencing on that meme, I was standing in the middle of a field with hundreds of people all around me. I said, I'm going to stop right here, pull out my iPhone and take a picture. And that's where that photo came from. And of course, look what ended up, but you can, that what's in an iPhone.
It went viral.
It went viral, yeah, Mark. Exactly. You're awesome, brother.
That's funny. And I didn't even know it, So, but, when you carry your iPhone, you're carrying GPS, you're carrying your phone, you're carrying video, you're carrying still photography. I mean, you have an amazing.
You get the weather report,
right?
The weather report.
You get the weather report. Yeah, I mean, you get all those things. So I think that most of us now typically carry, our phones with us, when we're detecting and not an extra camera. Now, I want to say to you guys particularly, and I just saw Loya's in the chat as well. I have a tremendous amount of admiration for what you guys do on video, because I know how much work it takes to do all that editing. I mean, it takes
hours.
You do a 10 or 20 minute video, and it's going to take you hours and hours of editing, and to do all of that. So when I see people who do good quality videos, I know that they have spent a lot of time and effort. Now, you look at somebody like Brandon Neese, and he does amazing videos, but I will tell you, if you look at the equipment that he's carrying when he's doing those videos, it's not like with the average person.
Drones, he's got those expensive drones, and I mean, the problem is when people get into photography, a lot of them get into it, that they ended up spending, all of a sudden they're spending $10,000 on a camera.
It's not a far
pretty
stretch.
Crazy. And I've heard
stretch.
people on YouTube, kind of saying, "Man, I've gotten a camera addiction," and it's like, and they're always coming out with new lenses and new, they got these new mirrorless, cameras that don't have mirrors in them or something, and I don't know. It's just, it's like they got monitors now, the 6K monitors now that Apple is going to have on their their Mac Pros now.
Right.
So,
well, that's what I was getting at the beginning of the show, Craig, too. With I don't know if Mark, I don't know how long you've been on, but I was talking about, I've been working with the microphone and trying to get these, the levels right and everything, and I was watching these podcast videos on YouTube, and I'm looking at these guys that they're, obviously professional podcasters or whatever, and they have, soundboard, and they have 2 computers, and they have this and that, and they're really into it, and they're damn good at it. But I thought to myself, I don't want to have all of that. I want to be able to be mobile. I want to be able to take this thing if I really, really wanted to.
It's called KISS. It's called KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Exactly. And if I can do that,
when you got too much complication, it's like when you were messing around with the microphone.
Right.
All of a sudden, trying to get it perfect. We talked about that a little bit before the show. Does it really matter that much? It's you can keep tweaking and tweaking, but you're putting out more and more money. It's the more
exactly. Not only that, you got to carry the stuff. If I go on a hunt or whatever, I can literally, and Craig's seen me, I pull my laptop up, hook up my Blue Snowball microphone to the USB, and we're good to go. Ain't nothing, no big thing here. I mean, and I think a lot of you all understand that. I mean, it's maybe not 100% quality sound, but it's pretty doggone good considering what I'm using to make this happen. And it's a choice thing. I mean, if I wanted a soundproof room and stuff like that, and if I was that much into it, my wife's laughing at me right now, but
I can hear her.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just didn't want to go that route with it. I want it to be fun. I want it to be real. I want it to be. This is what we are, what we do. We're regular guys, and we're having fun with this. And why make it more difficult, more complicated than it needs to be for a show that formats itself? It goes on its own. It goes on its own path. Where if I was doing like more guests like you and Loy do at Relics Radio and stuff like that, I want to have my guests call in. I want them to be I want to be able to figure the sound. I want to make sure everything's perfect. And that's what Loy's great at. I mean, the guy sounds like a professional radio jock, for God's sake. I mean, from the first day I heard you guys on the radio, on the podcast radio, and that's great. I don't have that talent. I know it. I'm not going to try to push it that far. You know what I mean? So, like Craig said, keep it simple, stupid. That's what I do. So,
well, I mean, everybody's got to. You got to develop your own style, and with us, we kind of developed a chemistry, over a very short time where we just started talking, and it was kind of like we talked, before we did the shows. We talk on the phone, and it's kind of like, same way we're doing it on the show. Kind of the same things we're interested in is mostly metal detecting and things that have to do with it. But
Well, Mark knows.
You know,
Mark's been in the hobby for a little while, and well, about 4 years now, Craig, or Mark, hasn't it? Like 4 years or so.
Yeah, it's coming up on about 4 years. Sure. Yeah.
But
seems
Mark,
like it was just yesterday, but it's been about 4 years.
But Mark, I said, well, I've only been in the hobby for this amount of time. Back when we first met, I said, Mark, you're into it. Mark's always been able to watch other people, watch other videos, talk to people, see what they're doing. It doesn't matter if you have that kind of ambition in a hobby or of any kind. You're that much farther than everybody else that's just starting out too. So like Mark, within a year, Mark's like going to these hunts and everything else, and it shows. It shows his determination to be good at it, to have fun with it, and I've always done the same thing. I surround myself with the best hunters that I know, and I learn from them, and I watch, and I make myself maybe not use all their information, that they're doing everything they do, but I pick out bits and parts that fit my style of hunting and research.
You're only
and
as good as the people you surround yourself
my wife just
with.
said it. You're only as good as the people you surround yourself by, with. So and Mark's done that very good. I mean, Craig, he's a legend in himself. I mean, Craig has at least 30 years, probably 35, 40 years now.
I'm into my 34th year.
Movies.
Yeah.
But,
Well, look, I mentioned this earlier. I don't remember which show that I met Bill Marsh and Brandon and Barb, but it might have been Beyond Sight and Sound.
Yeah.
But I do remember Bill inviting me to this show. But here's the thing that I remember. Coming on to, listening to your show, listening to, Josh's show, and listening to some other ones, I realized that by listening to the shows, I was learning a tremendous amount of information, especially when you're new. Mm-hmm. And the things that you guys shared, you and Craig and, your guests and the different people you had on. Same thing with Josh's show. And then I eventually, met Loy and, Tennessee Jeff and, got connected with that show. And I realize now that how much I've learned just from the podcast. If people, would come on and listen to the podcast, I think they would learn a lot more. And, it's kind of like what you shared earlier, Craig. You were talking about that carbon fiber shaft. Now, what's interesting is there's, I'm thinking there's 4 or 5 out there now, varieties that have come out. And what opened the door for that was when my lab, people were complaining about the shaft being somewhat loose, especially on the
wobble.
end.
Yeah,
The wobble.
Yeah,
The Equinox wobble, right? Well,
I don't really feel it.
Saying, well,
I don't know what they're talking about.
do you still use the normal my lab shaft?
Yeah, but I'm thinking about I might get the telescopic one, I think it looks good. I was looking at a few of them, but I think, the telescopic part is pretty cool where you can, crunch it up to 21 inches,
I'll give you my thoughts on that in a minute, but you guys go ahead and talk about it. I'll give you my honest opinion about that in a minute.
Well, so what I did, Craig, just so you know, and I'm kind of segueing here. What I'm saying is that you get on the show and you hear something and you learn something, and then you go do the research and find out about it. But it's a lot of it. The information starts here, and then you go off and you find out what it is you want to find out. Now, I actually went out and bought the Detect Edge shaft, and those are made in Australia. Now, having said all, I'm sorry.
That looks good, and this one I'm talking about almost looks the same. It's got that red and black matte finish on one of the shafts, and then the bottom I think is black. But
yeah, well, I will tell you, of all the shafts I've used, I think the Anderson shafts are just amazing quality. I mean, what they do with Anderson is phenomenal, and they have a beautiful carbon fiber shaft for the Equinox as well, which I had, and then I bought this Detect Edge shaft because I wanted to check it out. Now, what's interesting about the Detect Edge shaft is you can use the standard MindLab lower. You don't have to buy the carbon. You can buy the lower. So what I did was I bought 2 extra lowers from the Mine Lab and then put the extra coils on them and then just switch them in and out. So they're a lot easier to switch out than the Mine Lab. Now, Greg, I'm going to tell you something about that telescoping shaft that you're talking about. The guy, when I posted about that Detect Edge shaft, the guy who makes that or designed that telescoping shaft messaged me, and I was not aware of it. And I started looking into it, and I said, "Boy, that's a great idea. You know, telescoping all the way down. You can just put it in your bag, and it'd be a lot easier to travel with, and all of that." But now I've seen some people make some negative comments about the quality. You know, they're saying that it's great design, but the quality of the actual manufacturing is not what it should be. So all I'm saying is I have seen a few negative comments for the few people that have had it.
Yeah, but
go ahead.
But I don't think many people have already gotten them yet, have they? I don't think there's too many reviews out yet of actual people using them.
I haven't seen that.
I think I was on a live link on Facebook the other day, it was on YouTube, and it wasn't the guy that designed it, but it's one of the guys on the team. He did a video and unboxed it. It was in this like little cylinder box. It was pretty cool that comes in, and it was a live chat, so there was only like 4 or 5 of us on the chat. So I asked the guy, I said, "That looks pretty cool. How much does the machine weigh with that versus, you know, the 2.9 ounces, you know, I mean, the 2 pounds, 9 ounces on the other, you know?" So the guy says, "I don't know." And then I guess somebody texted him that was listening, you know, and said that they'd bring a scale over. So they actually weighed it, and it was 4 ounces less. It takes 4 ounces off the, standard Equinox shafts. But I saw one thread where some of the first one that went out, the holes were drilled. They weren't big enough, but the guy said all you had to do was take something and just kind of scrape it around, and it would, you know, they actually did that on purpose, but they probably shouldn't have done that, you know, but so it fit tight. But that was the screws on the, hooking up to the, arm cuffs and stuff, you know. But,
yeah, the arm cuff, that piece, right.
You know, that's not that big a deal. I mean,
well, we had the same kind of thing.
But people nitpick stuff, you know. I thought it was a pretty good design, and it looked like, something. I'm going to wait. It's like I waited on the Equinox for about 9 months after it came out, you know, just to make sure, you know. And people were fussing all over the place at first, you know, but then I started seeing, and I actually, talked to people on the phone and had them, and, they were, I trusted them, and they were telling me, it's one of the best machines they'd ever had. And so I decided, what the heck, I'll get one, and I love it. It's a great machine. And
Mark
I don't know if you heard. Did you hear about the Vanquish that was supposedly coming out?
Yeah, I have heard about it. I don't know much about it, but I know they're going to be launching it this fall. And of course, they had the dealer meeting, and they were all put under non-disclosure. And then, a day later, somebody started releasing all the information. But there's plenty of information about it now.
I signed up for I think it was a closed Facebook page or something, and I got on there. They didn't have hardly any information, and they had this video that went for like 10 seconds, and you heard it was all black with Vanquish on the screen, and then all of a sudden you hear these beeps, and then the thing ends. You don't see anything, and then they came out with another video, and it shows like the bottom of where the handle goes into pole or something, and it was, kind of an orangish color, and then they showed something else, but they didn't show any part of it. You couldn't tell what the machine even looked like at all. So anyway, some guy hacked in there, found out off something on the Mind Lab business page or something, and they had a picture showing all the detectors, and then right below Equinox they had an arrow pointing down with Vanquish on it, but they didn't show a picture of the machine. So it's not a low line machine. I kind of joked about that. I said, who wants a low line machine, when you got an Equinox? So then some of these guys got all touchy and said, it's not a low line. It's, it looks like it's a pretty good machine. I said, so you're going to get one after you already have an Equinox? Yeah, right. I said, everybody was all hyped thinking, man, I heard it was going to be like the Equinox 1000, or something, like that, or the CTX 5050.
Yeah, you always want. Yeah, they always want to. They always want it to be something better because that's what we want. We all want better machines. We all want. Yeah, we don't pitch them down to get a lower.
Most of people were disappointed, like I was, because I was like, when I found out it wasn't going to be as good as the Equinox, it was below it. It cuts a great price range. I can see why they're doing it.
Well, that's why they think they did it. They're doing it. They want to get it, more people involved in.
But they're coming. But there's going to be more machines to come. In the future, and it makes sense not to come out with a machine to compete with the Equinox. Right now.
Wait
they
until
can wait a while.
The technology gets better. The technology gets better
and better. Out,
Mm-hmm.
with like some kind of machine that's in the range of the CTX, real expensive, to replace that.
Well,
that's probably what they'll do eventually.
What we're hearing, what I've heard about the Vanquish is that, obviously they hit a grand slam home run with the Equinox, right? Because when XP came out with the Deus, they really hurt Mind Lab, especially in Europe.
Mind Lab for a while.
Yeah.
Plus, Mind Lab,
especially in Europe, right?
Service. Yeah. I talk to these guys all the time.
Well, and Mind Lab, got a lot of that mind share back. Here's what's interesting. I think what Mind Lab is doing, quite honestly, is going after that area between, a very basic detector and let's say a Garrett AT Max. Now you look, there's a lot of Ace series machines being sold, the 250, right, the 300, the 400, a lot of those being sold. I think this Vanquish, in my opinion, based on everything I know, is going after that market first.
Mm-hmm.
And then, if you notice, if you also notice, Deus just came out, Oryx, the XP
Oryx, yeah. Right.
Or ORX or whatever. I saw Tim Glick just got one, and he's starting to use one, but that's a much lower machine. So they knew that machine was coming out, and so this machine, I think, is the answer to the ORX because it's in that same price range.
And these machines, I had an opportunity to review and to use the Quest series, the Quest 20, 40, and the Pro. And one of the things I said on that Quest 40 detector is it's like a $399 detector or $299. I can't remember off the top of my head. But for what the price range is on it, it can hit a 9-inch dime. That's big. I mean, for that, they're making them a lot. Mind Lab, whatever. They're making these machines a lot more powerful, a lot more. I should say stable. Not. It used to be where you bought a $200 machine. That's what you got. You know what I mean, Mark? It's not going to be you're going to want a new machine after 6 months because it's not going to, get you where you want it to be yet. But it's a good starter.
Well, this is also,
these machines are already into the mid-level range coming right out of the box. They're on the same level as an AT Pro, really, as far as capability.
But you got these price ranges now that certain people can't afford certain machines.
Right, exactly.
Everybody wants a great machine, and it looks like this ORX is a pretty good machine, and we know that, I've used Explorer, which is a great machine, years ago. Mine Lab's always made pretty good machines, and they're in direct competition now. They're blowing away the field. And these price ranges, when I knew when that machine came out, the top line, the 800 is going for $850. That's going to kill the Deus. That's why they came out with this ORX for like 700 or something like that. But
well, if you look at most of these machines, Craig, that they have out, even we talked about it last week, like the MXTs from White's and the DFXs and everything, they haven't changed their prices in years. I mean, the MXT is still $900 or whatever, $950. It's worth it because that machine does do it does what it says it's going to do. But now these mid to low level price range machines are capable of competing against these mid to upper level machines. It's like the technology is allowing them to be able to do this. I'm sure that's a lot of the technology, the way they're building them, maybe a little bit better, not so shoddy. And for people to be able to afford them to get into the hobby, because we sold detectors, and oh my God, that thing's expensive. I said, yeah, but look at what it can do. It can compete with anything in the VLF range. But you have to have the money to get started in it. I've been there. I still am there.
Yeah, but
Craig knows I've sold machines and everything else too to be able to buy
the technology is one thing,
right?
But now we got wireless headphones.
Right.
That's like a given almost now.
Mm-hmm.
For the top of the line machines. I mean, we've always wanted good wireless headphones. Finally, we got it. So that's changed. Lightness of the machine. Nobody wants a heavy machine anymore. It's not going to sell.
Well, I think with White's, I had the wireless headphones that they had with them in 2008 with the Spectre V3. I think if I'm talking that they're $300 headphones that if you were to buy them, that was the first wireless headphones that I thought worked good. So yeah, they've come down a lot in price, but the technology is there, to make them like the Deus, like the Equinox, what have you. Even the Quest has really nice wireless headphones. And that wouldn't have been seen, 10 years ago. The technology wasn't there to make them work. The Bluetooth
but
had
now,
to get better.
It's going to be on every machine, just about, and probably from, mid, upper, machines all the way up.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's just what people want now, and they're competing. It's a tight market.
But we can help people with these machines
and
too,
I think
Craig,
the price might start coming down some too.
Mm-hmm.
That also affects competition.
Mark, you started out in this hobby, and I think you started out with an AT Pro. Am I right? Something like that. When you first bought a machine, and then you had bought a couple other ones, but even starting out, there's a learning curve to metal detecting in general. I mean, you're not going to, but you have to start somewhere. And if you want to make sure it's a hobby you're going to want to be in, you're going to enjoy before you make an investment of $1,000 or $2,400 or whatever for a machine. You want to make sure you like what you're doing. So this is a good price point for people to get a quality machine that they're going to be able to spend more time with before having to go get a more expensive machine that does more. And not have to search that price point out as much. That's the way I look at it. It's just going to enable more people to get involved in the hobby affordably and compete.
When when I bought my AT Pro, that was in 2011. That was 8 years ago. Now everybody that I talked to, I've really only been really involved in the hobby the last 4 years, but I bought it in 2011, used it a little bit, but everybody I talked to, who has an AT Pro or who has had an AT Pro says, it's a great machine and still is today a machine for land or water, not good in salt water, but, waterproof, in fresh water, whatever the case may be. So it really opened the doors to a lot of people, and it's easy to use, so it was that right price point at the right time with the right technology. Now, what we're seeing today, like Craig mentioned, with wireless headphones, and the
chargeable
backlit
batteries,
screens,
the built-in batteries,
yeah,
all that stuff.
Yeah, that's
right.
another one. Rechargeable batteries. Wow, I didn't even. That's another one. That's a given nowadays.
I was spending so much money on batteries, it wasn't funny with the whites, but you had to do it because if you use voltage too much, if your voltage goes down to a certain point, like 9.5 on your voltage, the machine starts falsing and getting sensitive. So you always have to put new batteries in to make the machine work properly and to high performance standard. And with batteries, it took 8 AA batteries. Well, you do that every day you hunt, which was what I was doing. Yeah, it's going to cost you some money if you're running, door cells or whatever else. Matter of fact, I think that's when they came out with a NiCad rechargeable battery for the whites, which was it looked just like the actual battery pack that you would put in an MXT or what have you. But it was pretty neat. All that technology in like 07, 08. I don't think I'm not sure, Craig. I don't think anybody else was running wireless headphones. At all of it. Whites was that I remember I thought they were the neatest thing. Now there was a little lag in them, a little bit, but I mean back then they didn't use FM. They were trying to use Bluetooth, but Bluetooth is only so fast up until that's why when we were wanting Ahmed to make wireless headphones for the Bliss tool, he couldn't do it. Right, they keep on improving, but they didn't have it back then. As batteries the same way. Now we're using lipo batteries and everything else, and they're rechargeable, and you plug these things in, and like the Equinox, like the Quest, it's just saving people money that way, but they're lasting a lot longer. I think the Quest lasts 16 or 20 hours on a charge. I mean, give me a break. That's longer than anybody's going to hunt, in one day, most of the time, anyways. But where you don't have to, forever. Now we have to remember to get batteries for our pinpointers, but now, I mean, the Quest pinpointer now is rechargeable. I think the Mind Lab is too, right? Has a built-in battery. The pinpointer. I can't remember now off the top of my head. I know the Quest does.
No, not the pinpointer. The pinpointer still uses a standard battery. The Quest, I know.
Yeah,
I have one of the Quest GI pinpointers, and it is rechargeable. Yeah, I love that thing because when you go to the beach, if you use a Garrett carrot on the beach, and you stick it down in that salt water, it's going to ring every time. So I pull out that that Quest
what's Pulse
Pro Plus.
Yeah.
With Pulse, and it works great because that mineralization doesn't affect it.
Mark, I did see and I can't remember if Craig posted it or I just saw it somewhere. It was it was a Quest pinpointer. It looked like it, same style, anyways. But you could take the pinpoint part of it off that you would normally run for relic hunting and put what it amounts to is a 3-inch coil one, and plug it right into the same. So you're switching out essentially a coil on your pinpointer. And I can't remember who makes it. I saw it about a week ago on Facebook or what have you. But you could buy one pinpointer and use it for both things, like go snorkeling or something with it.
Okay. So what that is the Noka Macro Pulse Dive.
Right. Okay.
What it's called. And what they do is they have a pinpointer. That's a PI pinpointer. Mm-hmm. And you can actually plug the small end coil onto it, so you can use it as a pinpointer, or you can have that small coil and use it for diving.
And that'd be great for cellar holes or hut sites or whatever. That'd be great for that type of work too. With that smaller coil.
I think so too.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so too. Everybody that I've talked to so far, and they're brand new, and we gave away 2 of them the other night at our club meeting.
Cool.
Yeah, we did. I mean, they're available now, and people are using them. Everybody that I've talked to that has actually used one said they work great, and they love the versatility of them. And note when they package them, they give you a really nice case to carry it in. It's a little case with a handle on it, and you pack it all in there. Very versatile, and if you're doing shallow water diving or any kind of diving, you can certainly use that. But, that's a great – they hit a home run with that one, too.
Yeah.
You know, everybody I talk to would love to have one of them.
There are detectors, there are pinpointers, headphones, stuff coming out all the time. Yeah, some of them are not anything different than what we're used to seeing, but you get these diamonds in the rough, so to speak, that are pushing the boundaries of the technology and making it better, faster, more accurate. I mean, I was so impressed with the Quest 40 and Pro, even the Quest 20, about how accurate when you pinpoint. I don't use this in the field, but if it tells you it is 7 inches down in the ground, it might be 7.25 inches down. You know what I mean? It was so accurate, even at depth. When I was planting them at 9 inches, measured them with the tape, the whole 9 yards, the detector was reading 8.75 to 9 inches down. It was shocking because notoriously a lot of the other detectors I've owned in the past, though I don't use the depth thing very much, they were not anywhere near what they should be. I think it was, I'm just going to use it like the MX Sport from White's. You'd say everything's 4 inches down, but it's 7 or whatever, vice versa. It just wasn't accurate that way. But to have that low of a price range and have accuracy that machine had, and I'm sure the Equinox is the same way. And I'm thinking the Vanquish will be also, because they have figured out how to make it better.
The Equinox is kind of weird. It's got like these shovels, and each shovel is about 2 inches.
Right.
And I remember when I first got the Equinox, it didn't matter how depth I got. I only got 2 shovels. And after they came out with the update, the software update, I went out and I was getting, all of a sudden I'm getting 4s and 3s and 4s,
right.
And it seemed like it straightened all that out, but it's still weird. It just gives you, lines up little shovels and horizontally.
Well, they only know
vertically.
When they're setting up these machines, and I don't know how Mind Lab does it. I'm not going to pretend to know, but I know like when White's came out with the Spectra V3 as the one above the DFX, they had, I'm sure the Mind Lab does it too. They had field testers, the guys that were, one of my friends happened to be one, and he'd spent a lot of time. Matter of fact, there's 2 in the state of Florida that I know. That tested for Whites and put them through their paces and worked with the programs and made sure the programs worked properly, that kind of thing with that machine. It was a very technical machine as far as settings, but it educated me on the way metal detectors work, what I'm looking for in a metal detector as far as correlate and recovery delay and a lot of these other big words that a lot of you may not know. But it helped me understand how the metal detector was working, how it was receiving the signals, and that's my thing. I'm very tech oriented when it comes to metal detectors and what they can do and how to fix problems. But White's went through that, and I think that Mind Lab obviously has done this same kind of thing with their detectors like the CTX, I'm sure, and as they go along, it's just product
one
field
thing
testing,
Equinox has got is so much more computer, capabilities,
right.
that this thing has got so many filters and stuff, to help you, pick those targets out of the junk and stuff. It's, and it's also the audio is so much, you got so many nuances, and I, right off the bat, I was hearing.
But it takes a hunter, it takes a relic hunter, a professional detectorist to understand what they want to see in a detector. You can get as many computer guys as you want to together to make it on paper work a certain way, like they think it should be. But when it gets put into real life metal detecting or relic hunting situation, that's where I think they've taken another step to make it more accurate, better, faster, and to a, instead of just being on paper. It's like buying a stock car out of the dealership and then buying a NASCAR or building a car. I mean, obviously, you're going to squeeze a lot more power out and everything else like that, but it's not by somebody sitting behind a desk, an engineer. They only know, we want to hit a dime at 10 inches. We'll make it hit a dime at 10 inches, but they don't have everything set up right to work in the real life. In the ground that we may be in, mineralized ground or regular ground. I think the Equinox has done that pretty well for a VLF of that price range. I mean, they're able to hit gold chains. They're able to, and that's very difficult for a lot of detectors to do. It can work in salt water, from what I've seen of it. I don't own one myself, but some of the depth tests too. It's the machine does it. It's been tested. It's been put through real life testing. It's just not been thrown on an assembly line. Oh, it's reading out okay right here, so it's good. Let's put it in a box. And that's happened over the years with a lot of different brands. And I'm not even going to go through all. Every detector will find you some, but there's been those brands that just throws it out there. It'll do this, this, and this. And a guy that gets a detector that has some experience, well, it's not doing anything I want. I'm selling it. I'm getting rid of it. So that was a wasted experience right there. And I like that they're coming out with machines that actually do what they say they'll do. You know what I mean? By being an all-terrain detector, being these words they use all the time. Well, if you can't use it on salt water, it's not all-terrain. You know what I mean, Mark? It's a play on words. It's marketing. But to see a detector do it for real, to go by those papers, that's nice to see, because people get what they pay for.
Well, here's the thing with all of these detectors, and I can promise you that MindLab is working on some way to improve the CTX, and it's going to relate to what I'm about to say is all of these detectors, whether it's the White's MX Sport or the 24K Gold, the Equinox, the new ORX, Deus actually started it with a faster processor. The one thing that everybody noticed about the Deus when it came out, it was fast. And, they're taking advantage of the new faster processors and technology. And MindLab did too with the Equinox. But what they added was the multi-frequency capability simultaneous, using multiple frequencies, which they have a patent on. And that really kind of boosted the Equinox's capability in things like saltwater or high mineralization, because that's what keeps it quiet in the middle of
also
in the middle of a noisy
different types
sorry, go ahead.
Different types of metals do better at different frequencies. Like gold, you want high frequency, and lead, pewter, you want low frequency.
See, that's what blew our mind.
That's what makes the machine so much better at all those frequencies. With all those different types of metal. There are some machines that do good on high conductors, but they don't do good on low conductors.
Well, that's what always threw us off.
I've done some deep nickels, really deep nickels, that actually locked on the meter, and read good on the meter. And I remember over the years, most machines, even the Deus, didn't do very good locking on the meter on a deep nickel. You could hear the tone, but you just didn't get a meter reading on it.
Well, that's what threw me off,
I think
too.
that multi-frequency is what does it.
I agree. Well, and you get into those highly mineralized areas, and multi-frequenly helps quiet the signal so it's not, getting a falsing from that mineralization. And that's both in mineralized ground and in the salt water.
Exactly. You're dealing with a lot of different with the frequency thing. It's like when I was doing with the Bliss tool, they run 8 kilohertz or 7.4, whichever you choose. To be able to do what it does using the processors it has in it, being analog, but having analog sound and everything, but being able to use 8 kilohertz and hit gold just as deep as silver, and all you hear is a little volume change as far as the heart, whatever the sound, the beep that it gives off. That blew my mind about it, but it's running some different processors or something. I still haven't been able to figure that out. It's computer chips in it, but it's analog. And, they've gone, Ahmed went the other route with that, where MindLab went multiple frequency. And, you keep the best of both worlds with that, I think. You're higher the frequency, the better it is on gold. And that's the way I learned anyways. But then you got detectors like the Bliss tool, it throws it out the window. Because it's almost like it's not AI, Mark, but it's that, you've seen me and Mike Miller use the Bliss tool. And it's like, as you go over a target, and you get a signal, and then you could speed the coils up. You can, it will definitely, it's gaining more information. That's the only thing I can come up with, because it's analyzing that target. Yeah, it's analyzing that target, and it will let you know if it, by the way it sounds, if it's junk like iron, or if it's a non-ferrous item. How does it do that? It doesn't have a screen. It doesn't have all this stuff on it, but it's actually doing it, and it locks on, and it blew our minds, because we've never seen that technology in a lot of these other, well, really for me, any other VLF detector. And to explain it, nuances and all this, it's like they're incorporating, like in the Equinox, it has nuance, but it's digital. So, that's where me and Craig were like, wow, okay, that doesn't happen very often. I think the E-Track was pretty good about the nuance. Josh Kimmel had used that and really became very good with the nuances of the E-Track, and being able to tell what item is in the ground just by hearing it. The Equinox has a lot of those positives to it, which is good. That's great. I mean, they're almost breaching that gap between analog and digital by using the processors that they're using. At least that's the way I'm gathering it. And we get kind of, I should tell Mark, we get pretty deep on this show, and Craig and I, and Mark too, actually now, we have to rein it back a little bit, because some of you guys out there, gals out there, may have no idea what the heck we're talking about, because we're getting way too technical and deep about it. But it's just, to understand your metal detector, I guess as far as wanting to know it, wanting to use it to the best of its capability, you start finding all these little points in a detector on adjustments and everything else that's going to make it work even better. And it's going to make it the best machine you ever had. And when you get to that point with a machine where you've reached that limit, you feel comfortable that you can find most things and you're not going to have these problems. But then a new machine will come out, and it'll have even more capabilities. And you're using the information you gained, all the experience you gained from one machine to the other, even though they may not be the same technology, but the principles usually always are the same. As far as gain and discrimination and everything else. How they work, though, that's something you have to learn. That's why every detector you get, there's always a learning curve. Whether it's has knobs or push buttons or has a screen, there's always a learning curve with these machines. I don't care how doggone good you are. You can't pick up, if you've never used an Equinox before, you can't pick it up and go out there and be gangbusters first day. Ain't going to happen. I don't care if you're the best with the CTX out, with a CTX metal detector, you're not going to pick up an Equinox.
I don't know, man. The second target I dug with the Equinox, I dug this giant token, almost 10 inches deep, right next to a big old chisel, iron chisel.
Well, I've seen. Well, you know what I'm getting at, Craig. Craig, you've used 50 or 60 different metal detectors in your life. You can't. You can't just pick one up.
Well, I was telling people, I said I was finding stuff with the Equinox, and I didn't even know how to use it yet. Right. I had the threshold too high, and all kinds of stuff. And
so
I'm going around my yard popping stuff left and right with it. I was like, God, this is unbelievable.
That's why we always say, get a test garden going, because you have to understand how your detector's working. What was that, Mark? I'm sorry I cut you off, brother.
Well, I was just going to say, that is another one of the attractions of the Equinox. It does have advanced programmability, but when you take it out of the box, you can turn it on and go. Mm-hmm. Now, you may not know everything you're doing or what it's doing, but you literally can take the Equinox out of the box, turn it on, ground balance and noise cancel, and go. And then you figure it out later. But that's another one of the attractions of that thing. Now, that actually reminded me, this thing with the XP Deus was, and I've never used one, I've just talked to a lot of people, this new ORX that came out. One of the reasons people like it, I've heard people say that they've used it and really like it because it's easier to use right away than the Deus was. Yeah.
Yeah, the Deus is tough, in the beginning. I helped a lot of people out, when the Deus came out. And the other thing was, it's a listening machine, and the numbers, a lot of guys are going from E-Track, looking for that 1246, on the meter, and with the Deus, you had to listen. You got these tweaks, and people were complaining, that the meter didn't go deep enough. But it pretty much took off once people started listening, because you can hear the target deeper than you can detect it on the meter.
And with that point, Craig, I want to say on that, as far as you hear people say it all the time in videos. Well, it wasn't really reading up on the meter or whatever, the screen, but it sure did sound good. It sounds good. I'm going to dig it.
Yeah.
So, they're using regardless of whether you have a screen or not, use your doggone ears, because that's what they're there for. They're more sensitive than sight. Don't look at that so much. It's a reference, so that's just some, it's advice.
Like when I used Explorer years ago, I didn't even look at the screen half the time. Or 90% of the time, I just, I just hunt it. The only times I did it was like in a yard with a lot of junk, if I was trying to cherry pick the coins or something.
And these are kind of like advanced stuff.
When I relic hunted, I just dug everything, and I just, I got so where I could almost tell, by the tone what it was, like a button or a silver coin. But, I used it, every weekend for years. God, I don't know how many thousands of hours I probably put into that machine, and other machines too. And it's just learning the machine. After a while, you just become one with the machine, and you hear that signal, and it just, to me, you go, that's a good one,
I do want to bring up one thing. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Craig. I didn't let you stop.
It's like with the Bliss tool, I could tell, I could go over like I could hear a brass signal, and I knew, if it was a Warrior, it's a button probably, and, I could go, man, that's a button, and almost 90% of the time it would be a button.
Right.
But, the machines, they got, some of the better machines nowadays have the nuances that, a lot of them didn't have any nuances. I had some machines that didn't have them. It was kind of a same signal on everything. Some of the Soros, I could hear the silver, like the Nautilus, I could hear brass really good on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But
I did want to bring up too, Craig, on that when you guys were talking about the detector shafts, being loose or whatever, or the wobble. There's one way. You do have them that do this. The one thing that I found, and I've done this with heavier coils, like the 15-inch coil on the Bliss tool. It has the way you swing these detectors. If you snatch back and forth, not snatch back and forth, but stop abruptly and go back and forth, you're going to feel that wobble. But if you come to a stop going left and slow your swing a little bit before you get there, and then come back smoother to the right, that will, and it's going to change your swing style a little bit. It's actually better because you're not that jerk motion, and a lot of us do it. I mean, I do it, Craig does it, and everything else. But when you're trying to be methodical and watch how your coil's sitting, how far it is off the ground, whether you don't want to make the swooping motions and stuff like that with the coil. You want to keep the coil as low to the ground as you can, almost scrub the ground. You want to keep it nice and level, and you want to overlap by a quarter and stuff. Just incorporating that into the way you swing a detector, you're not going to have that wobble at either side of your swing. If that helps you all. That's something you can remedy until you can get a different detector shaft. The screw knuckles is what I call them. Bliss Tool has them and everything. Some of them are better than others, as far as design. If I'm not sure about this new one, Craig, does it have the cams, the lock cams instead of the screw cam?
No.
Okay. With like the Quest has the
this new telescoping shaft has lock cams on it.
Yeah, those lock cams are pretty nice. The ones that clamp down, I've noticed it with the Quest. But on the same note, and Mark mentioned this, or you did one about the quality. They did a great job on the Quest with the cam locks, the way the coil sits on there and everything. One thing they overlooked or whatever was the arm cuff. It's in there with Mark. It's such a small little bitty screw, I mean, I had a hard time getting the thing in. And then you could feel a wobble in the armrest as you swing the metal detector. So I went ahead.
That's one part of the Equinox I'm not real impressed with is that.
Oh, it has
cuff.
the same. It has the same thing.
It's a two-piece arm cuff,
right?
And it's got one bolt going through, but the material of the cuff itself is cheap. I think I've
this
heard
one
people
actually
breaking them stuff already, but
on the Quest it fits right over the end of the shaft, and it has a little bitty screw in there. And the first thing I did, and I'll be honest with you, I got a self-tapping screw like you'd use on aluminum siding or whatever, and I put that sucker in there because if you want to transport that detector in like carry-on luggage, you could take that screw, big screw, and you're not going to lose it. Number one, plus it holds that arm cuff even harder on there, so it's not going to have that give in it. So it goes with the great design of a metal detector, works great, but there's always that one thing, that one little quirk that they seem to miss all the time. And if you own a detector, a new one, Equinox, whatever, if I use one, I'd probably figure out what that is, but Craig already did. The arm cuff on the Equinox is about the only thing you can fuss about, is what it sounds like, Craig. There's not too many things. That was the same with the Quest. I said, I can't find anything wrong with this thing. It's designed nice. It's a nice grip. It's got nice screen.
I have one other.
Got,
I'm not real thrilled with the coil cover.
No, I don't even know about that one either.
On the Equinox.
Right. Yeah, it's always one little quirk, but we have to, when you're reviewing a detector or any product, I mean, it comes down to it's just this one thing, this one little minor thing, but it's the only complaint I have about it. You know what I mean? So you have to be honest about it. And I think I said it in the video, in the review. Arm cuff is, it's okay, but you need to have a bigger screw in it or something like that. I didn't make a big deal about it because it wasn't. That's all I did was go to my shop and get a self-tapping screw and put the sucker right in there. And now I can see it and tighten it up and all's good. So, it's quality-wise, they're pretty doggone good quality, the Equinox. I mean, but the coil cover, I didn't know about that. Was it not clip-on good, Craig, or is it just getting scratched up bad, or?
I don't know. It's kind of brittle feeling to me, and it's real thin. I don't know. It's I just from seeing other covers over the years, it just didn't, to me, I wasn't that impressed with it. I don't know. I've heard a couple of complaints on the internet on it.
You see, now the Quest coil cover on it, on the Quest, if you pull the coil cover off, you could see the coil wires. There's a hole in there, or whatever. It's like, so the coil cover is actually the bottom of the coil, technically. So I thought, was kind of surprised about that. It doesn't seem to affect anything, and you could use it in the water and everything. So I don't know. These coil designs it goes full spectrum with coils. I mean, that's why you have Dell coils, and all these aftermarket coils are so good, but they've specialized in some part of that coil to make it better. And you get other ones. I'm just going to use we'll say Ace 250 or something like that. Obviously, if you buy an aftermarket coil for that, it's going to work better. Or like the AT Pro, you get the Tornado coil. It works better with it, but it's been designed better. It's just more, but you pay the money for it too. I mean, I don't know how much they are now, but I mean, I know I was buying SEF coils. They're like $200 or $300 a piece back when I was buying them for the whites. So you get what you pay for sometimes too. But it makes your detector a different detector. So, that's my thought on it.
Yeah, I wonder if the Mindlab's ever going to let these other guys, make our, third-party coils for them.
I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean, I'm sure they're doing it with the CTX, aren't they?
Well, they want to keep all the money for themselves, what they want to do,
Oh, they might work together. I mean, you never know. I mean, Mindlab's a big company.
Might give them a license.
Well, yeah. I mean, hey, build a coil, make your money on it, but, you're whatever, can't pay me this much. That's his business. But yeah, I'm sure that Mindlab's probably got a team working on that anyways. They're so big. I was actually surprised about, Tesoro and stuff like that going on because they've been around for years, but, it's
I heard
a
more
tough
about
market.
that. There were some guys in Arizona and they knew that the guy that, had been there, what was his name? Henry, I think. Or I don't know. The guy was one of the engineers that knew everything about the machines, could fix anything, and Jack Gifford, the owner, died, and his sons took over, and they were into more into digital stuff, and they weren't into the making new machines and stuff, and they weren't. Their heart wasn't into the business either, and so they didn't do a lot of innovation and everything. But
right.
there's a lot of diehards that swear by DeSoro, and
I love
for the money, they go deeper than the money than just about any machine on the market. As far as what you're getting, and they were built quality wise, and they had a lifetime warranty. That's gone now, but there's a guy named Willis, I think, that fixes the machines now. I think it's Detector Doctor or something. I don't know. I can't remember the site, but he fixes everything.
Them going out is one of the legends, one of the pioneers, because you have Fisher, Minelab, Garrett, White's, Tesoro, obviously. I mean, these are the pioneers of metal detectors. I mean, White's has been putting them out, since 62? Something like that. I think, I don't know when Minelab came in, but they've been around as long as I can remember. Tesoro's been
Minelab is around 78.
Yeah, I mean, all with, we'll say before 1980.
I had a guy come into my shop, because I was one of the only people that advertised, selling metal detectors in Northern Virginia back then, and a few coin shops sold Whites, in the area. But I did Tesoro, and I'd actually talked to Jack Gifford several times on the phone over the years, and about the hobby in general, about the politics of the hobby and stuff. It was, even back then, it was kind of cutthroat a little bit. People undercutting dealers and all kinds of stuff.
Right.
But that he was always, he thought, quality machine, and then it was rugged enough where it lasted. Where it, he could actually give a lifetime warranty on the machine. I mean, who ever heard of that?
Right. And there's still, but these are the guys, these are the companies, whatever, that were started, mom and pop for the most part, it seems like, and with Whites, they're up in I think they're still up in, was it Pleasant Valley, Oregon, or something like that, and Texas for Tesoro, and I don't know where Minelab's out of, but
pretty much
they're the pioneers. They were the ones that started this whole thing for everybody to enjoy the hobby. We've seen.
Pretty much 90%, over 90% of the people that sell detectors are selling out of their house, or they're not selling, out of a store. I had a racket shop, so I also sold metal detectors out of that. So I kind of included it in my, in my business advertisement, but and I'd get calls because I was one of the few people that actually advertised, and. I could probably, if I sold the Soro, but I could get other machines too.
There was something I always liked about the Soro. I've used one when I was using a White's Spectra, I had to send my Whites in, and my buddy was a big Tesoro, user, brought one over, and man, I picked that machine up, and it was like, totally strange for me. I was using double D coils before. They never used a concentric coil, really, and the sound, I understood right what he meant, listen for the rounded sound, and it'll be a coin. And first thing I dug was a penny, and I just went for that sound anytime it had that roundness to it. I see, there's Steve Adams on here. That's all he, uses. That's, he uses the El Dorado and the Vaquero. I mean, it's something about the Tesoro that to me, it was unique compared to some of the other brands. It's just something about it, and maybe it's just I just love the machine itself. But I ended up using one for quite a while. Craig, you sold them, so I mean,
yeah,
that.
I owned it one time, about 20, and probably 20 at least over the years, and I had right now. I got a Stingray, what was the very first underwater machine they made.
Mm-hmm.
They actually, I guess, about a year after I got it, they actually updated. They had a recall, and they changed the plate on it. It was, some of them were leaking. Mine didn't, but they went ahead and fixed it, even though it didn't really need fixing.
Yeah.
And I think they even paid for the shipping or something. But maybe it was just because I was a dealer. But I sold quite a few of those machines, and they work really good in the water.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably, Mark had his battery died on his cell phone, so he lost Mark.
Okay.
Mark, thanks for calling in, brother. And, we get, it's one thing about, when you start talking about metal detectors, what they'll do, and oh, man, I tell you what, Craig, it can go on for hours and hours, but we are almost here to 10 o'clock. So probably going to wrap it up for tonight, I think. It'd probably be a good idea. My wife's over here looking at me, so we got to... Well, I don't think we've even had dinner yet. Gosh, it's going to be a late night. But, yeah, I'm going to probably wrap it up for tonight, guys. Thanks for listening. And, Craig and I, we have some stuff that we're going to be working on and doing some things a little bit different. Not changing any days. We're still going to do Thursday and Saturday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're going to try a few different things. And if it's something y'all like, let us know. And I wanted to say, too, if you guys have... a Facebook page, YouTube channels, whatever you need, subscribers, feel free to email us. I put my email at the beginning of the show on comments. You can get it through the archive show also, or get on Facebook and go to Hardcore Metal Detecting, and Craig monitors that pretty good. Let us know, and we'll give you a spot on the show. I don't care. Hey, we're all want the information.
If you have a YouTube channel or something, you can post it on Hardcore Metal Detecting page on YouTube. I mean, on Facebook.
Oh yeah, so, by all means. If you guys have stuff, and I don't, you know what I'm talking about. I don't want these weird, selling gold and all this other garbage. We're talking. We want legitimately. You want to post up on there? That's fine. We encourage it. The hunts you may be having in your area. I don't care if you're. Craig, I don't know if you really care or not. Hey, we got a metal detector for sale.
No,
if
I see a hunt, I don't care. If I see a hunt, I don't care where it is in the country, because we got people all over the place that look at that page, and I post up. I did one for Adirondack, I think it was. They're doing one up in Rhode Island. I put the that hunt on the page. So, if I see something like that, I put it up, because that's news. And, I put anything new, any kind of news about hunts or new machines or new products or anything like that, and plenty of memes.
Yeah, and for plenty of memes. I like the memes. But, plenty of people on the chat right here. If you're listening to the show and maybe you're listening to it on your cell phone as you're going down the road or whatever, you have it downloaded. If you get a chance to sit down and actually look on Spreaker.com and go to Hardcore Metal Detecting, and when you click on the show that you might want to listen to, click the comment button. It'll still work. You could still post up stuff there, but see some of the comments and stuff, and the people that are on there, Bill Marsh, Mark Hoover, got Lloyd from Relix Radio on here tonight, Barb and Gavin, and, if I missed your name, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of experience with these people on our chat. These guys and gals know their stuff, and they're more than willing to help you out. And if you need followers or whatever, if it deals with metal detecting, bottle hunting, prospecting, I don't know, anything treasure, anything outdoors, they're probably into it, and they'd be more than happy to check out your stuff and watch a video or two or whatever, and ask them what they think. They're going to tell you. They're going to be honest with you. And that's all I'd ever want them to be with us, So like and follow, what you can. Show your love, and we'll talk to you again on Thursday night. So everybody get out there if you can. Keep digging. God bless.